People talk about demons the way they talk about weather, abstractly, theoretically, something that happens to other people, in other countries, in other centuries. But what you are about to hear did not happen in other centuries. These accounts come from real people, some of them practitioners, some of them believers, some of them people who never believed in anything until something believed in them. 8 encounters, ranked from unsettling to something I genuinely struggle to categorize. We begin with the ones that could still be explained away. We end with the ones that could not. The user goes by Veiled Thresholds online. They posted this account 3 years ago and it has never been deleted. They write, "It was a Tuesday, not even a ritual night. We just had the board out because someone dared someone else. There were 4 of us. Nothing happened for the first 20 minutes. Then the temperature dropped, not gradually, instantly, like opening a freezer door. We all felt it at the same time. No one said anything. Then the candles bent, both of them simultaneously in the same direction, toward the hallway. We packed up and left." That would be the end of the story, except it was not. 3 nights later, alone in the same room, the user saw something in the mirror, a dark shape standing behind them. They turned around, nothing. When they looked back at the mirror, it was still there. It did not move, it did not speak, it watched. On the 3rd night, the shape turned its head. Analysis.
What makes this account notable is not the Ouija board, it is the delay. The 3-day gap between the session and the first visual. In demonological literature, this is consistent. Entities do not always manifest immediately. They observe first. They gauge the target. The candles bending toward the hallway is also a recurring detail across dozens of independent accounts. Not toward the participants, toward the exit, as though indicating something waiting outside the ritual space. This one was posted by a user named Ashwood_carries. The account is 4 paragraphs long and was upvoted over 2,000 times before the user deleted their profile. They wrote, "I was asleep at around 2 a.m. when I heard my mother call my name from downstairs, clear as anything. Her exact voice, the way she says my name when dinner is ready. I went downstairs. The kitchen was empty. The lights were off. My mother was asleep. I know because I checked. I stood in the kitchen for a moment feeling stupid. Then the voice came again, from the corner of the kitchen. The same voice, my mother's voice. But the timing was wrong. The way she said my name, it was just slightly off. Like someone who had heard a recording of her voice and was trying to reproduce it without understanding what the words meant. They did not stay in the kitchen. They did not mention it to their mother. The voice came back twice more over the following week, each time slightly more accurate. Each time from a different room." Analysis. The mimicry of familiar voices is one of the most consistently documented features in demonic encounter reports. Not strangers' voices, family members. The demonological explanation is straightforward. An entity targeting a person will first study their environment, their relationships, the sounds that lower their guard. The voice of a parent produces an instinctive response of trust and compliance. Note also the progressive improvement, the voice becoming more accurate over time. That is not a hallucination. Hallucinations do not learn. This account comes from a user with significant posting history in occult forums. They were not a beginner. They had been working with the Ars Goetia for 2 years before this happened. They wrote, I performed the invocation correctly. Circle was drawn properly. Correspondences were right. I felt the presence almost immediately. A pressure in the room, a drop in temperature, a sense of being observed from a fixed point in the eastern quarter. I stated my request. I gave the license to depart. The candles went out. I thought it was over. It was not over. That night I woke at 3:17 a.m. The pressure was still there. Same location, the eastern corner of my bedroom. I performed a banishing. The pressure moved. It did not leave. It moved to the closet. The next morning, my bathroom mirror had a handprint on it, on the inside surface of the glass. They attempted 3 additional banishing rituals over the following 2 weeks. The entity responded to each one by relocating. It never left. The user reported difficulty sleeping, inability to concentrate, and a persistent sense of being watched that continued for months. Their final post on the subject, I think I made a deal I don't remember making. Analysis. This case illustrates what ceremonial magicians call the license to depart problem. The formal close of a ritual is supposed to sever the connection between practitioner and entity. But several grimoires, including marginalia found in surviving copies of the Lemegeton, warn that certain entities do not honor the license. They comply with the form of the dismissal while remaining in the space. The handprint on the inside of the mirror surface is the detail that most researchers find significant. Glass is not porous. A handprint on the interior surface of an intact mirror has no physical explanation. Multiple independent accounts from different continents describe this exact same phenomenon.
Names matter in demonology. A demon knowing your name, your full name, the name no one uses, the name on documents, is not a small thing. It is, in occult tradition, a demonstration of access. A user named Pellucid Veil posted this during a thread about unexpected experiences during magical workings. I was doing a simple meditation, not a ritual, not an invocation, just sitting, breathing, candle lit. I had been sitting for maybe 20 minutes when I heard my name. Not my username, not my nickname, my full legal name. First, middle, last. Spoken very clearly in a voice that was not my own inner voice. It was not my voice at all. It was a voice with a texture I have never heard before or since. Low, patient, not threatening. That was the worst part. It sounded like it had been waiting to say my name for a long time and was not in any hurry. I opened my eyes. I was alone. I have never told anyone my middle name on any occult forum.
I have never used my real name anywhere online. There is no way it could have known. The user attempted to replicate the conditions on 3 subsequent occasions. The voice did not return. They wrote, I think it only needed to do it once. Whatever saying my name did, it did it once and it was done. Analysis. In both Kabbalistic and Goetic traditions, an entity knowing your name, particularly your full name unprompted, signifies that it has already established some form of connection or access. The name is not merely identification. In occult philosophy, your name is a key to your spiritual identity. An entity that can speak it has, in some sense, already found the door. The user's intuition that it only needed to do it once aligns with this understanding. The speaking of the name was not a greeting. It was a demonstration. Animals. This detail appears more consistently across independent accounts than almost any other. When people fabricate paranormal stories, they rarely think to include the dog. A user called Midnight Salt Circle posted this in a thread about involuntary hauntings. My German Shepherd has lived in this apartment for 4 years. He goes everywhere in this apartment. He has always gone everywhere in this apartment. About 3 weeks after I started working with a particular set of sigils, which I will not name, he stopped going into the study. Not hesitation, not reluctance. He would walk to the doorway, stop, and back away. Every single time. He would not eat near that room. He would not sleep near that room. On the 4th night of this, I decided to sleep in the study myself to see what happened. I woke up at some point in the night, I don't know when, I couldn't find my phone, and the study was not the right size. I know how that sounds. But the room was larger than it should have been. The walls were further away than they should have been. I could not find the door. I found it eventually. In the morning, my dog was sitting outside the study door. He had not slept. His water bowl was untouched. The user returned the sigil work to its source and performed a thorough space clearing. The dog entered the study again on the 3rd day after the clearing. Analysis. Dogs have been cited as early warning systems for entity presence in virtually every major demonological tradition. The Catholic Church's exorcism manuals specifically note unusual animal behavior as a preliminary indicator. But the spatial distortion, the room being the wrong size, is the detail that places this account in a different category. Spatial distortion during nocturnal entity encounters is documented in accounts dating back to medieval Europe. The room expands. Exits become unreachable. The geometry of the space changes. This is not metaphor. Multiple witnesses in documented cases have described it identically, independently, across centuries.
Sleep paralysis is the standard explanation. Hypnagogic hallucinations, a well-documented neurological phenomenon that produces vivid sensory experiences at the edge of sleep. This account makes that explanation difficult to sustain. A user called Broken Meridian posted a detailed account of recurring episodes. They had been diagnosed with sleep paralysis by a physician. They had accepted this diagnosis. Then, one episode was witnessed. They wrote, "The episode happened while my roommate was in the room. He had come in to get something from his desk and I was lying in bed. He heard me begin to speak. He says I was speaking in a language he did not recognize, not mumbling, clearly and fluently in a language he could not identify. He recorded approximately 40 seconds on his phone before I stopped. We sent the recording to a professor of ancient languages at the university where he studies."
The professor identified the language as a dialect of Aramaic, a dialect that has not been spoken as a living language since the 3rd century CE. I have no education in Aramaic. I have never studied it in any form. I have no memory of the episode whatsoever. The priest who reviewed the recording reportedly spent 3 days consulting with colleagues before responding. His response, quoted in the thread, "What is being said in the recording is a request. It is asking for something to be opened. I am not going to specify what. I strongly advise you not to be alone at night until this is resolved. I will refer you to someone with more experience in this area than I have." The Vatican's official criteria for genuine possession, as distinct from psychiatric presentation, includes exactly this: the spontaneous speaking and understanding of unknown languages with no prior exposure. The Church is explicit that this criterion alone is not sufficient for a diagnosis of possession, but it is one of the three primary indicators they look for: a dead dialect of Aramaic, spoken fluently, during what appeared to be sleep paralysis. The content of what was spoken, a request to open something, places this in a category that several demonological traditions would classify as a high-severity attachment seeking to escalate into full possession.
This is where the accounts stop being frightening in an atmospheric way and start being frightening in a personal way. A user called Threshold Keeper 9 posted over a period of 6 months, documenting what they described as an ongoing attachment. The final post came after they moved to a different city. From their first post, "There is something in my house. I do not know how it got there. I did not invite it. I have been practicing low-level sigil work for about 18 months, but nothing that should have opened anything. It makes itself known through smell, a specific smell, sulfurous and sweet at the same time, that appears in different rooms with no source, and through sound, a sound like something very heavy being dragged across the floor in the room directly above mine. I live on the top floor. There is nothing above me." From their post 6 weeks later, "I am moving. I have found an apartment in a different part of the city.
I believe leaving the space will resolve this." From their post 2 weeks after moving, "The smell was here when I arrived. The dragging sound started on my 3rd night. It is in the new apartment. It came with me." From their final post in the thread, "I have accepted that this is not about the location. I am working with a practitioner to address this directly. I will update when I can. If I do not update, please do not look for me. I mean that sincerely." They never updated. Analysis. Entity attachment, as distinct from location-based haunting, is one of the most discussed and least understood phenomena in contemporary occultism. Location hauntings stay. Attachments follow. The smell described by this user, sulfurous and sweet simultaneously, appears in 17 separate accounts across our Occult, our Paranormal, and documented exorcism case files. The same smell, described in the same contradictory terms, by people who have never communicated with each other. The practitioner who agreed to work with this user left a single reply to the thread: "This is real. Do not engage it directly. Do not speak to it. Do not look at it in reflective surfaces." Nothing further was posted by either party.
I want to be careful about how I present this one. Not because I doubt it, because I don't. A user who posted under the name Lacunae Written documented this account over the course of 11 months. The posts are still up. The photographs are still up. I am not going to describe the photographs in detail. You can find them if you need to. The account begins simply. They woke one morning to find marks on their forearms. Not scratches, not bruising from sleep. Precise geometric shapes, arranged in a pattern that they did not recognize. They photographed them. They posted them. 3 people in the comments recognized the symbols. None of them had ever communicated with each other. All 3 identified them as the same thing. The user was referred to an experienced exorcist not a priest, a lay practitioner with decades of documented casework. The practitioner agreed to take the case. They conducted 3 sessions over 2 weeks.
After the 3rd session, the practitioner posted a single reply in the thread. I am withdrawing from this case. I am not able to explain my reasons publicly. To the person this concerns, what you are dealing with is not what we initially identified. It is older. I have referred you to the only person I trust with something of this category. Please do not seek additional help online. Please do not discuss the symbols further in public forums. I am sorry I cannot do more. The user posted once more after that. They wrote, the marks came back last night. Different symbols. I recognized these ones. I don't know how I recognized them. I just knew what they meant when I saw them. Then, I think it's been communicating with me for longer than I realized. I think the sleep episodes were conversations I don't remember having. That was their final post, 11 months ago. The account is still active. It has not posted since. Analysis. Physical markings during sleep. Precise, geometric, symmetrical. Recognized by independent parties without consultation. Appear in the documented case files of 3 separate exorcism traditions. Catholic, Kabbalistic, and one West African tradition whose name I will not mention here. The agreement across those traditions about what such markings signify is not comforting. The practitioner's withdrawal is, in some ways, the most significant detail in this account. Experienced practitioners do not withdraw from cases out of fear of the client. They withdraw when they recognize something they were not prepared to encounter. What the user recognized in the 2nd set of symbols, and what those symbols meant to them without any prior knowledge, is the question that this account leaves open. I do not have an answer. I am not sure I want one.
8 accounts, 8 people who posted in the same community looking for what exactly? Validation? Warning? Someone to tell them they weren't losing their minds? What strikes me, reading through years of these posts, is not the horror of individual accounts, it is the consistency. The same smells, the same sounds, the same delay between initial contact and escalation, the same failure of location changes to resolve attachments, the same animal behavior, the same mirror phenomena, the same progression from peripheral to personal. These people did not know each other. Many of them had never read each other's accounts, and yet they described the same thing, in the same terms, across different countries, different backgrounds, different belief systems. There are 2 ways to interpret that consistency. The first is that there is a shared cultural mythology powerful enough to produce identical hallucinations across independent individuals.
The second is that the consistency exists because the thing they encountered is consistent, because it is real, because it is the same thing. I leave that to you. If you have had an experience like the ones described here, leave it in the comments. Not for entertainment, because documentation matters. Because the more of these accounts exist in one place, the clearer the pattern becomes. And if you are currently experiencing something you cannot explain, do not handle it alone. Seek guidance from whatever tradition you trust, but do not ignore it. Subscribe if you want to continue the descent. I will see you in the next one.